to look at the film, and so we took them up on that. And since then, I think we're now in 40, 45 cities, and we're expanding so fast, this is one of the last times you're going to see the three of us sitting together. And you've done that. And please continue to do that, because this is the visibility. We want to be open in every theater that every politician lives in. Because as they have to pass the billboards, they have to start thinking, you know what? It's getting really hot in here. Maybe I better do something.
And please don't forget, the most important thing here is the power is in the people. The power is in us. At the moment, there's not enough people talking to their politicians about what's happened to us. Everybody needs to do this. They cannot ignore us. They fear us the most. We are here, we're not going away. So everybody needs to tell their stories in any way that they can. We need to hear from the dads out there, not just the mums. We need to hear from the siblings and the grandparents and everybody that it affects. Everybody needs to keep on their backs to show them that we're here. And that's the only way we're going to win this. We are the people. We are going to win this.
And I would say that the most powerful instrument we have, as Della said, is this film. And to his credit, Jason Chaffetz, who is chairman of the Oversight Committee on Government Reform, who took over some years after Dan Burton initially led that committee and the inquiry on vaccine safety, has seen this film. And he insisted that his staff see this film, and I believe that things will move forward from that. But it's pressure, 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 particularly right now in this political environment, because people are looking for votes. They need your votes. You have never been more powerful than you are now, and if they are not going to do what you want in the context of the safety of your children, then they do not get your vote. That is it. This is the single most important issue in America today, because if we come to a point in 2032 where 1 in 2 children have got autism, you either have autism or you care for someone with autism, and that's it. There's no standing army, there's no foreign policy, there's no peace force, there's nothing else. It's over. Okay, so this is the most important issue in America today, is neurodevelopmental damage to this nation's future, to its children. And that must be your guiding light in determining the political decisions that you make.
Have you found any other similar things in autism or any other child with any other type of vaccines besides it?
Yes, we hear multiple times as we go through this, parents saying, well, it wasn't the MMR in my child's case, it was the DPT or the HIV, or a combination, usually a combination of 6, 7, 8 vaccines on the same day. We hear this time and again, and this film is about MMR only because that's what Dr. Thompson provided us with. It was hard, factual evidence. There was no speculation. This was the fact, and it was based upon everything that he had given to us, based upon a study that he was in charge of. Had it been about HIV or hepatitis B, the fraud, we would have made a documentary about that. But does that exonerate these other vaccines? Absolutely not. We have concerns about all of them, particularly because they have not been tested adequately for safety. So we hear time and again from parents that this is what happened to my child, and that is the most important story that a doctor can hear, because that's the starting point for understanding why these children got ill. Right. The question is, do we have access to single vaccines here in the United States of America? I don't want to hold the microphone, but I'll answer this and then hand over. But Merck withdrew the option of the single vaccines. This is a policy decision made by a drug company. In the UK, it was the government that made the decision. Here, it was a drug company that decided to withdraw the option of single vaccines. Why? Because Merck is the only company that has a mumps vaccine. If it had opened it up to single vaccines, then it would have brought its competitors into the market, and it would have lost that monopoly. So this was, in my opinion, an entirely commercial decision. We will provide our way or the highway, and that's it. MMR or nothing.
Yes. Your film mentioned it. It asked about, where's the study, vax versus non-vax. I know David Kirby's book, Evidence of Harm, also talked about this. What about studying the Amish? Other groups who have not vaccinated, to me, the answer is there. I agree.
I mean, look at there are even studies being done that do look at the vax versus unvaxxed populations. The problem you have is you have to get it published in a medical journal. in order for it to be taken seriously, or just gets written off by the entire scientific and medical community. And so what we're up against is medical journals, which have even publishers in almost every medical journal now have stepped up and said we're being controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. It's so easy to lie on these studies. You really can't even trust anything that's being published here anymore. But we're, sort of as the first question is, as you stated, the pharmaceutical industry is everywhere. This is the most powerful lobby in this country. They're in our politics, they're controlling our media. I mean, for me, that's the most terrifying part of this whole thing. I mean, the fact that we have a whistleblower, a government employee, stepping forward and saying we're committing fraud in here and your children are at risk, and not a single newspaper covers the story, not a single news agency that we trust. I mean, we all thought we were choosing sides. Oh, you like Fox, well, I'm an MSNBC person, CNN. None of them. None of them stepped up and thought this was a story. And then add to that, July of last year, you have Congressman Bill Posey stands before the Congress of the United States, says, I have interviewed this man extensively. I have 10,000 documents. The American people trust us. They need to know the truth. Please, I beg you, I implore you, subpoena this man. Not only has the Congress not done that job, but not a single newspaper thought it was a story that we have a congressman pleading for a whistleblower to be heard from. Not a single news agency. If you grow up and if you study journalism, Thomas Jefferson said, if we lose a free press, we lose our democracy. That's it. You cannot have a democracy without press. So what's terrifying right now is, I got involved in the story about the health of our children. But as a journalist, what I'm really terrified about is the health of our democracy.
So I have an interesting story. So I was immunized in 1982 with a DPT shot that I had a reaction to. It wasn't documented. My son was born in 1987, and he had a reading disability, and he was unimmunized. Because I've had such a severe reaction, I've been on the don't take immunization soapbox for many years. And it was not until I was 28 years old that we could find a doctor to document that he had Asperger's autism. And the biggest problem has been he doesn't qualify for any kind of services because we don't, in Virginia, there's no budget for it. And so he's on his own, he's 28, and I just wonder day to day if he's going to be okay. So it sounds to me like I need to write an article about this situation with an unimmunized child having autism and then my history. It sounds like I need to write something about that.
I mean, look at you guys can weigh in on this, but no one's saying the MMR is the only cause of autism. No one's saying that vaccines are the only cause of autism. I think what's very interesting is what Doreen Granpeche says, which is we just have children that cannot detoxify quickly enough for all the toxins that are impacting our government. And then, of course, there's still, I think what's important, I want to point out something too, and I'm not sure what your case is, but it's very important to talk about one of the things that bothers me is parents will say, well, you don't get autism until 12 to 18 months, and that's why parents are mistaking the fact that the vaccine caused it. The truth is that originally autism, and Andy, you're probably better to talk about this, but originally autism was a child that failed to thrive from the very beginning. Never learned to walk, couldn't talk, had issues from the very beginning, because there's an in utero issue. Mom got measles or mumps or rubella while pregnant, and then the child just had developmental issues from the beginning. Only in the 80s and 90s did we start seeing regressive autism. Children that were thriving, were walking, were talking, developing perfectly normally, then something hit them and we lost them. So they've rewritten the description of autism to say, oh no, it doesn't happen early, it only happens at 12 to 18 months. That's a lie. That's a lie to try and cover up the fact that at the exact same time you're hitting your kid with all of these vaccines, that's the time we're losing them. So I just want to point that out when you hear that argument. And I'm not sure if your child developed normally, but there's many, many reasons all of these things are happening. What we know is the CDC in this study saw one of the reasons and they covered it up. And with the skyrocketing nature of the worst epidemic in our lifetime, to be covering something like that up, it's horrific.
The lady at the back and then this gentleman here.
Yes, hi. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for making this amazing documentary. I'm a grandmother, and my husband and I are taking care of our 14, soon to be 15-year-old grandson, who has autism spectrum. And from the time he was a baby, he was always with us in our presence, and he used to have these seizures similar to what I saw in the film. And feeling bad about himself because people think he's weird. He's an amazing child. He's very, very smart. Just like this lady said, we are trying to find programs and different things for him. We're trying to find different situations for him in terms of getting better. And it is just almost impossible. He's been hospitalized 9 times before he came here. He was in Texas, my son and his wife, my grandson's stepmother. They didn't throw their hands up, but it's just really been difficult. So that's why he's with us. And he's very suicidal so many times. It's just really, really hard. And I just don't know.
Can I just shout out for people with Asperger's? I was introduced to Asperger's as a mild form of autism, high functioning autism, which clearly he has, and the lady in front of him. It is not a mild form of autism. It's a different form of autism. And the problem that plagues children with Asperger's is they get into mainstream school and they often excel academically, but they do not fit in. When children do not fit in school, they are isolated, segregated, and bullied, and their life is absolute misery. And in many ways, Asperger's syndrome is more devastating to the child than autism. So it is not a milder form of autism. People need to acknowledge that. And as you say, the suicidal tendencies and the depression in people with Asperger's is an overwhelming problem that needs to be acknowledged. This is a question about Nagalays, which some of you may have heard of, and the doctors who have been killed or found dead in suspicious circumstances, like Dr. Jeffrey Bradstreet. It's not something that we've looked at, and this is a treatment modality for autism and cancer that Dr. Bradstreet, originally from Florida, was involved in before he was killed, and it apparently showed great benefit. Sadly, we may not know the results of that research because it's possible that he was killed in an effort to prevent that getting out into the public domain. So we're filmmakers, we have not been involved in that, but I would say that there is both a documentary and a feature film being made about that right now. So hopefully more will come to public attention on that issue. And then the lady at the back.
The smear campaign was just so broad, as you know, that it's very scary to talk about this as a parent. If you're a parent who does their research on this and wants to avoid vaccines, and I just want to know if you have any advice for those of us who want to have play dates at our house and want to go to public school about how to introduce this into discussion, because you're vilified, really.
Well, I think that this story, first of all, is changing the discussion quite a bit, and this film is a real tool. You could say something like, did you see that movie VaxXed? I mean, I had no idea that we had a whistleblower. I mean, one of our top scientists is saying they committed fraud on a vaccine. I mean, start the conversation like that. No, I didn't really, oh, I saw it, you should check it out. I would start there. But the truth is people, it's always been difficult to have a discussion because it was always my study, I have a study that shows that vaccines can actually be bad for you, and then I have 1,000 studies that say that they're safe. Well, now we can say we have the most important study. I have your most important study. And we have proof that it's a fraud. from the top scientists involved with it, the guy crunching the numbers. So it's the end of the dialogue right there. I haven't really had that much trouble with this conversation. Like, if you're not going to look at it, that's your deal. But I'm not making it up. One of our top scientists is. So go listen to what he has to say. Go see the movie and get back to me. I mean, that's it. I mean, and beyond that, we can play this safe. You can worry about your friends, you can worry about your play dates, and we can say, we're going to try and be quiet on this, but it's going to get and catch all of us. We are in a crisis. This is the end of freedom as I know it. I live in Los Angeles. In California, we just passed SB 277. My children can't go to school now unless they're fully vaccinated. And think about it. No matter what you think, if you believe completely in the entire vaccine schedule, why would you ever allow a law that says the government owns my baby and has control over my baby against whatever wishes I may have? They can inject this child with whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. That's the truth. It may just be 69 vaccines today, and maybe a microchip tomorrow, but once they've penetrated the skin of our children, it's over. And then beyond that, it's coming for you. It's not going to end with the children. They're going to pass a national law that mandates all babies be vaccinated the same way, can't go to school, and then it's going to be adults. I guarantee you we're just a couple of years away. You know how I know it's happening? Every time they scream herd immunity. Every time they say herd immunity, I want you to hear that a different way. That means we need you, because every adult, almost every adult in this audience probably have not had all of your booster shots. You're about 39 vaccines short of where your children are at, which means you are not immune to anything. We have over 100 million adults in this country that currently are not vaccinated and are not immune. So in order to achieve herd immunity, when they say we're going for herd immunity, that 3% of the kids that aren't vaccinated aren't going to achieve it. You achieve it. Vaccinating you is the only way we can get there, and the only way they could maintain it is to vaccinate you every year, because we don't know how much they're going to wear off. All we know is they do wear off. So now think about the fact that the pharmaceutical industry has hoodwinked your entire medical society to believe that we have to have herd immunity, which in itself is just a theory. And then in order to achieve that, they have to vaccinate you every year. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to use something like the Affordable Care Act to say you cannot be insured until you've been vaccinated. Trust me, that's where this is going. And I used to be a fan of the Affordable Care Act. I was behind it, I supported it. Now I think it's terrifying. But where are we going to be? We have 270 vaccines in the pipeline you haven't even heard about. And once vaccines are mandated for all 320 million people in this country, I mean, think about it. We're about to become human ATM machines for the pharmaceutical industry, the most powerful lobby in this country.
I just want to say we've been given the time out. A huge thanks to the Angelica Theatre, but this film is now carrying over for another week at least, is that right?
Oh, fantastic. So we have time to bring your friends.
Please get people here. It is not time to be afraid. It is not time to be afraid to stand up and reclaim the democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.